In this video, I'll be teaching you how to checkmate with a king and a rook against a king. So in an endgame, especially if you start to move up the levels, you often find yourself in a position where you and your opponent both have kings, obviously, but you have a rook and your opponent does not, and neither of you have any pawns. So how do you checkmate in this position? First, you have to create a box, and you have to box the king in. And we can do that with rook to c4. And as you can see, the rook starts to box the king in, and the king cannot go over to this side or that side. And after this, for example, after king to e5, we can chase the king with our king, because the king needs to support the rook as the rook moves here and shrinks the box again. So after something like king to e6, the rook will move to d4. And notice how the king and the rook are always connected. The king and the rook in a only rook checkmate position are best buds. And as best buds, they need to always be together and stick around with each other. So after rook to d4, shrinking the box, we have king to e5. And now the king, sticking with the rook, protects the rook. And temporarily the box does not shrink further, but after king to e6, we can shrink the box again with rook to d5. And after king to f6, we can move the king to c5, and again, setting up the rook to shrink the box. And after king to e6, king to c6, king to e7, rook to d6 shrinks the box even more. And after king to e8, rook to d7, the king is now restricted on the edge of the board. So basically just keep doing this until the king manages to find himself stuck on the edge of the board, and then we can start moving in with our king for a checkmate. So we want to force the king to the corner, and our king will chase the king to the corner while our rook keeps boxing the king in and moves closer to the king. So after king to f8, we can chase the black king with our king with king to d6, king to e8, king to e6. And after king to f8, rook to e7 again shrinks the box. And now the king is restricted to these three squares. And after king to g8, we again chase our king after the other king, and we have king to f6, king to f8. Right here, again, our king cannot move to g6 because the rook will be undefended. And the rook shouldn't move because that will be opening up the box again. So the only thing we can do is king to e6. This is the simplest way to checkmate your opponent. And the king, again, supports this rook. So after king to g8, we have rook to f7, again shrinking the box. After king to h8, the king is now restricted to this square, h8, and this square, g8. We can move in with our king with king to f6, king to g8, king to g6, king to h8. And now the king guards this square and that square. And right here, the rook has finished its job, and it can give checkmate with rook to f8, checkmate. The king can't go here because this king blocks the square, and the king can't go there because the king guards the square as well. So that is mate.